James Hird has taken his public campaign to be Essendon's next coach to the next level. Now, he was speaking at a fundraiser, Lordo, at the MCG today, hosted by Tony Jones, which was for the Male Hug, which is a non-for-profit organisation committed to men's mental health. Now, there are a fair amount of journalists in the room. I think part of the room, from what I can gather, was told that it was off the record, so not to be quoted. There were 400 to 500 people in the room, but it has been written up verbatim in the Herald Sun today, and it's leading their website, written by Glenn McFarlane, who's one of the best sports journos in the business, and talks about the fact that he has once again spoken publicly and candidly about his desire to be the Essendon coach. Now, interestingly, they're sitting next to Kevin Sheedy, who said, "I made my decision on who should be Essendon coach 4 years ago. I'm still in your corner." Of course, he was footy director then when they chose Brad Scott over James Hird. And then James goes on to say, "There is a fire inside of me to do something very, very special, hopefully in the future. What I do know is that I've become a much better person, a much humbler person, a much more appreciative person, but also with a desire to succeed that is deeply inside of me." Now, this is a very public campaign that is being run here, and I'm just not sure that those two gentlemen, who are clearly great, they're arguably the two biggest names, along with Lloyd, probably on the podium, Jimmy, as two of the three biggest names in Essendon history, right?
Yep.
And they have done a lot for that great footy club. I'm not absolutely certain that this public campaign is doing the club any favours. We've got Andrew Welsh, who's another one of his former teammates, who's trying to stabilise this club and keep a man of objectivity in this process that's going to be run. I'm not sure events like this. Now, I understand that people say, I was meant to be off the record. As far as I'm concerned, if you speak into a room of 500 people, it's public.
So that was going to be my question. One of the quotes I'm trying to find here. Hird said he was conscious of not being the person out there promoting himself. If he's at one of these, he's going to get asked about it, though. Like, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
So James is, I think we all know from watching Footy Classified and The Furnace, James is a highly intelligent person. Highly intelligent. So he would know, if he was going to be asked about this today, all he'd have to say is something like, "Look, I think I've said what I've said about the Essendon Football Club. They're doing a process. We'll let this play out. I'm here to talk about men's mental health." And from what I can gather from people in the room, him speaking about his own experience with mental health was absolutely amazing, and you could hear a pin drop, and it was deeply emotional, and he should be congratulated for speaking so candidly about that. But sorry for being a cynic, Lloydie. I don't buy the argument that it was meant to be off the record.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with it, Sam. I think the only interesting part of it for me in this article that Glenn McFarlane's written up in the Herald Sun is that James has said, "I still haven't spoken to anyone at Essendon." Hird said after a month after he first put his hand up, and then Kevin Sheedy said, "This is unbelievable that they still haven't spoken to you at the club." But
don't you think, Lordo, that very conversation is harming the club? Like you said, I don't have a problem with it.
That's the only thing that interests me out of it, because James is saying he wants to be the coach. He was asked again today, "Yes, I want to be the coach." So he's not saying anything that he hasn't said already.
But yet here we are talking about it off the top of the show. So it's more headlines directed towards Essendon and more noise that Andrew Welsh and the board have to deal with.
Yeah, so it's more coming to a head next week.
Yep.
Is Andrew Welsh going to announce, just to take it forward, is Andrew going to announce that James Hird, with the criteria they want, is going to be part of the process?
Yep.
And another factor that adds a wrinkle to it, which is the new word we like to use, and it'll be straight from the horse's mouth. This is John Longmire regarding Tasmania.
I, among many people in the industry, have been spoken to Tasmania, but that has been quite open about that as far as Tassie are concerned as well. They've spoken to everyone in the industry. I was one of them. And so, as far as I know, there's no decisions being made.
So the reason why I highlight that piece when John Longmire was asked about Tasmania is because it's been spoken about, and I know there'll be other candidates that they'd look at. But a lot of people, when you follow along on social media and news reports, it's almost pitting, well, the three gentlemen being spoken about the most is obviously Dean Solomon, who's currently the caretaker, James Hird, coming back, and then John Longmire. When you hear Essendon people talk, who would they prefer to coach? Is it Longmire? Is it Hird? Is it Solomon? I think whoever is advised, and it mightn't have been anybody, the timing of what John Longmire's put his hand up for Tasmania.
Yep.
Well, it also creates pressure if he is to be considered for Essendon.
It gives him leverage.
It gives him an enormous amount of leverage, and which then.
So you think John's running his own sort of PR campaign?
Well, all coaches have to, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you believe, though, Sam, that the reports coming out that Tassie have pushed their decision back till November, though? Could it be, It's what Damien Barrett on his sliding doors today said.
Yeah,
he linked Chris Scott to the reason they may wait till November.
Yeah, and Damo doesn't write that sort of stuff without there being an element of background in him making calls. So I always read that column with great interest. Look, I don't know. I mean, I would think that Brendan Gale, given all his knowledge in the game, is just giving the Tasmanian Football Club the best opportunity to have a crack at the best coach. Like, they're not really in any rush, are they?
No.
I don't think so anyway.
No.
Unless Essendon or Carlton were going to appoint John Longmire, and that is the man they want.
Well, and do they want them to coach the VFL team first?
No, they don't.
Okay, but that's a...
No, my understanding is his name has absolutely escaped me, and I'm sorry for that. The
Little
man,
John, is it? Or?
Is it?
Yeah.
I've gone completely blank on the VFL coaches, and I can see him, picture him. Eddie will get me his name, the coach of the Tasmanian VFL side. I think my understanding he's going to coach them next year.
Okay.
And so the senior coach who comes in will be overseeing an entire football department alongside whoever Jimmy they get in to be head of footy. But I would think that Tasmania accept that they are running their process behind Carlton and Essendon.
Gavin's up first. Good evening, Gavin.
Yeah, g'day, mate. Yeah, I'm a Bomber supporter. And, I think at the start of this year, for the last few years, Essendon's been like a shell of what the great club we have been,
Yep.
And we seem to have lost our soul in a way. And, everyone speaks about us like, all the crap they've been putting on us and all that sort of stuff. And, I really do think we lost our soul over it. And I spoke to people for months, a few weeks before Scott got the flick, and everyone said, what do we do with the Bombers? And everyone said, get Jimmy back.
There we go. Gavin is a big fan of James Hird coming back to coach the Bombers. Stuart's up next. Good evening, Stuart.
Hey, guys. Love your show. I'm a non-Essendon supporter, and, the more and more I hear about the Hird camp and the campaign, it's just, mate, just give it up. Seriously, if Essendon aren't looking at Hinkley and Longmire only, they're crazy bringing him back. Just move away. Fantastic player, great Essendon man. Just move away, mate.
It's amazing, the two callers, isn't it? Polar opposites, how it split everyone down the middle, and the sooner I think this is answered, particularly which way, because if James is in, great. If he's not, well, then it opens it up to the whole of Australia to try and go for this job.
Yeah, the uncertainty's hurting, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Stuart. Rowan's up next. Good evening, Rowan.
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. I've got a very strong feeling and this happened when Nathan Buckley was appointed assistant coach at Geelong. I think that Nathan Buckley is being prepared for the Tassie job. But having said that and listened to what you gentlemen had to say just recently in the past 10 minutes, if Bucks doesn't go to Tassie, and if Chris Scott ends up going to Tassie, Bucks will step into the Geelong job.
Be a good job to step into, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, that thought had crossed my mind. It's so interesting, right? Like, I always, pick the people whose opinion I hold in high regard. So, Caro has reported before that she thinks Ken Hinkley's the front runner for Tassie. Cal Toomey on Footy Classified on Tuesday said he thought John Longmire was. Two people that I've got the utmost respect for their journalism. So then you've got and then all the calls that I've been making say to me that Nathan Buckley is still very much in the frame. So this is a long way of saying I have absolutely no idea how to call this one, Jim.
Three very good candidates.
How would you feel, though, if you were those candidates who have been interviewed and they're highly regarded people in the industry, but yet they have pushed it back to November?
I don't think it's gone down particularly well. Yeah. Like, I think people would like to know sooner rather than later. The point I made in the previous segment, Jim, was that I don't think Tassie are in a rush, but I think the people that they would like to that are in the running are in more of a rush.
Would you think then that it means that they're going to be the second choice?
Yeah, that was the question I was about to ask Sam. That if you've already been interviewed and keep lobbying, you keep putting yourself forward for the Tassie thing, and they keep going, oh, we need more time. That's like you keep trying to chase someone, and they're going, oh, maybe next week. Oh, maybe next week. Oh, maybe next week. because if they're keen on you as well, they'll go, okay, let's just do it and let's just keep it quiet and we'll announce it till November.
I know that there are people of substance at AFL House that think that it's being pushed back because there are still people worried at the Tasmanian Football Club around, the provisions of the licence. I'm not sure I believe that necessarily because the Tasmanian Footy Club have never done that before. They've never held back announcements before. So why would they do it now?
Carlton, no leaks out of Carlton. They're a club that's been very quiet.
They've been solid as a rock, haven't they?
You wonder when the interviews. Do you know, Sam, when their process is going to begin?
I think next week is when they'll start speaking to people. Okay. So you would expect people like a couple of your old mates, and I know that one was on the show last night. James Kelly, who spoke very well. Corey Enright, I think will be interviewed by the Carlton Footy Club. Look, everyone seems to think that Carlton will go down the untried coach route more than the other ones. I assume that's because they're just linking the history of Graham Wright. I wouldn't rule out the John Longmires of the world from that race.
Just going to pivot a little bit, Sam. I read your article, of course, covering the Melbourne Football Club. Melbourne being sued by Stephen May's partner for alleged privacy breaches. Can you fill this in for our listeners? Because we can't comment a lot on what's going on because it's clearly going to be a court matter. But can you just paint the picture for us?
So I'll try to summarise it in 30 seconds or less. For those of you who aren't aware of the story, there was a Zoom meeting, a Teams meeting, between about a dozen Melbourne players partners, in the first week of February. And it was run by then CEO Paul Guerra, Alan Richardson, the footy boss, and Stephen King, the coach, were also on the Zoom. And it was held because there was an incident involving police attending Stephen May's house. As a result of that meeting, Sashi Dade, who is the partner of Stephen May, believes that her privacy had been breached. Now, this is a story, I think it was Tom Morris who broke the story initially, has been reported before that, there were people that weren't happy about what was spoken in that Zoom meeting, that Teams meeting that went for the best part of 14 minutes, so not a long time. But a lot of people, including the Melbourne hierarchy, were shocked this week when court documents were filed, and actually the process began in the federal court at 10 o'clock this morning. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out, but every single footy club wants their players and their players' families and their players' loved ones to feel as safe as they possibly can.
Who's potentially being sued? The coach?
The respondents are the football club, the coach, Stephen King, and Alan Richardson. Paul Guerra, interestingly, is not part of the lawsuit.
Going to probably hear more about this as it unfolds.
Yeah, as you said, we can't comment much more than that, but it is an important story.
My thinking is that we shouldn't ever play State of Origin football again.
Bang!
Bang!
Yeah, there's the gift card straight away.
We can't give it 6 over midweek.
Just watching Wednesday night and the passion and the desire and the want from the fans, the players, everyone involved, that they will just walk over, broken glass to play, versus ours that you have to roll out in February. You've got clubs given managed minutes. You got guys like there's just it's just forced. I think it's forced ours, and to the point that that is what is real. What it used to be. And it was played during the season, and there was a will and a want for it. And the moment that died, I don't know why we're trying to bring it back, because Wednesday night hit me just what meaningless football ours is.
I mean, he couldn't have said it any better. Now,
there's no asterisks on that 160, by the way.
Granted, I'm biased because I've been anti this since it started, but it was a glorified exhibition match.
Yeah. And there's two teams. There's two teams. It's Queensland. It's New South Wales. You love them or you hate them. They're the only two every year. Don't just give us at meaningless times a bit of WA, a bit of South Australia, a bit of Victoria.
Well said, Watto.
I just think we have to concede. It's their thing. They dominate. And it's not ours. It's over.
How am I supposed to go after that?
Do you want to wait for our calls?
No. I'll go quickly. Look, my thinking is the AFL are picking and choosing. You can't, on one hand, tell Jai Simpkin to take down an Instagram post because he disagreed with the tribunal, and on the other hand, not fine Damien Hardwick for bagging the umpires. Like, that is classic AFL not going after the big dogs and just hitting the soft kills. That's no disrespect to Jai Simpkin, but Damien Hardwick's up here. Jai Simpkin is just like, Jai, don't do that. But whether it's Damien Hardwick, it's not Damien, don't do that. It's, look, if you could just maybe, we won't fine you, but we're just going to have a conversation. Come on, guys. Just don't pick and choose.